Shalom, everyone. Ariel Tzadok here from the KosherTorah School, found online at www.KosherTorah.com, bringing to you today's daily lesson in the Sefer Yetzirah. We are in lesson number 30, dedicated, of course, to the safety, health, well-being, and now prosperity. Everybody around the world is being affected by what's happening. God's blessings to everyone. Health, strength, prosperity, recovery, rebuilding, all good stuff. Not just good words, projection of proper positive thought. In other words, the snow which must come down upon the building so that it can thrive. What the heck does that all mean? That's exactly what we're here to talk about. Now, we are in Mishnah number 12 in our text. Sorry, Mishnah number 11. The book opened to the wrong page here. Sorry about that. Mishnah 11. And we're talking about that power called water and how it comes forth from spirit. And in our previous class, we discussed how it created that which we call the structure of our three-dimensional reality. It says how the 22 letters gave rise to four things. We said the tohu and the bohu, the rephis and the tit. Again, tohu means what? Void. Bohu, chaos. Tit is like mire, muck, as opposed to rephis is like mire and muck. Tit is like mud. So you see a transitional process here of the creation of form. This is what we discussed yesterday. We spoke about the establishment of the forming. They call it a garden bed. Garden bed's your floor. Why does it not just say a floor? Because a garden bed is like a living thing, and everything that comes from the bottom must be alive. This is a very big and important secret, because this is what we call in the Kabbalah the Or Hoser. And actually, just to digress for a minute, which is not really a digression, this is the underlying concept in Torah, which is very, very different from philosophies like Zoroastrianism and Plato, which later developed in all of Greek philosophy, which is the separation between spirit and matter. In these philosophies, spirit is good, matter is bad. Spirit is holy, matter is profane and the like. This type of dichotomy is the foundation of what we call in Torah and Judaism idolatry. Yeah, bad stuff. Why? Because this physical world is what is created by the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. Remember, that's a symbol. We're talking about the creative, rephrase that, the energetic forms which materialize creation. Maybe what we're talking here is how the energy in the universe somehow congeals to form atomic patterns such as protons and electrons and the neutrons, which form the structure of an atom, which then combine with other atoms to form molecules, which then develop all the forms that we have in our known universe. And again, just remember this, modern science has, I believe, discovered and has validated this. You know what a proton is. That's one of those little balls that we call it in the center of an atom. Pro means positively charged. And the electrons are negatively charged. And the neutrons are neutral. Somehow you have the positive, the negative, and the neutral all holding it all together. Hey, didn't we learn about this earlier with that power called Hadar? Remember we said the right column, the left column, and the center column? Well, I guess this is it. Now, science knows that, wait a second, what exactly is a proton? A little ball of what? It's energy? Okay, fine. It's positive energy. I got it. So I got this little ball of positive energy and electrons and this floating stuff around, negative energy. What the heck is it? All right? Can I put it under a microscope and look at it? Actually, yes, they can. Does that mean that we truly understand it? Well, Einstein, he tapped into this when he said that matter and energy are kind of like two of the same realities, just like in a flip. All right? E equals mc squared kind of stuff. This is what we're talking about when we talk about the Sefirot materializing in quote, the letters. Energy is materializing in matter. And the relationship of that is what modern science, whether it be the Einsteinian physics or quantum physics, is right now dealing with and trying to decipher. Essentially, what modern science is doing is deciphering the Sefer Yetzirah in its own way. So yeah, to learn from one to the other, very interesting. So when we go back into our text and we try to understand it properly, we can discover many scientific teachings, which is actually echoed in the wise words of one of the great sages from the Pirkei Avot, sayings of our fathers, where it says with regards to Torah, Hokhma v'Hokhma tekula ba, which means flip it over, flip it back, you'll find everything in it. Essentially, the texts are archetypes, that they contain many, many layers of teachings there. That, in all due respect, I'm not sure that the original authors even knew at the time when they wrote them, because there was so many things in there that the higher consciousness congealed, Sephirotic energy congealed into the form of letters, that even the one who wrote the letters down may not have recognized the depth of the profundity of the Blima element of the Sephirot within. Getting back to our text, the life force energy, which comes down, which you just said, comes down, materializes in the physical form, it is alive, always alive. So this ground, the floor, isn't just called a ritzpah in Hebrew, it's called a garden bed. Now, we also speak about the building of the walls, and we speak about the establishment of the ceiling. We spoke about this in yesterday's class, the establishment of three-dimensional reality, height, width, depth. We understand that. But then there's something like really weird that the text throws in, and some versions of the text actually delete it. It's wonder if they ever understood it. It says, "V'yitzak alehem sheleg v'na'aseh afar," and you throw upon it snow, and it becomes, afar means dust, land, or dirt. And he quotes a verse here from the book of Job 37, verse 6. Ki lesheleg yamar heve aretz, and you will say to the snow, right, be upon, or let there be land. Now, what does that mean, snow and land? What is this relationship of snow and land? Well, Reb Chaim has his understanding of this because there's a curious teaching here from an old midrash called the Pirkei Rebbe Eliezer. It's available. It's out there. You go check this stuff out. He quotes here chapter 3, and he asks, the midrashic question, of course. Midrashic means moralistic teachings, symbolic teachings. Ha'aretz me'ezeh makom nivret, right? The land. Where and how was it created? Now remember, we talked about the nature of creation from Ramban Nachmani's commentary to the Torah. He said in the beginning, God only created this prima matter called the Hiyuli, and then from that created the other elements. Now, right here in Sefer Yetzirah language, that is the original materialization of what we call the Sephirotic energy, life force energy, known to us in this world as, you got it? Chi, Nefesh, Orgon, Prana, Kundalini. All the languages from all the different cultures, they know what this energy is, this prima matter, and it's not a form. When you study, as I have in the martial arts many, many years, we talk about the flow of chi. Is chi something real, or is it just an imaginative thing? Well, the Western rationalist atheist, he might not want to acknowledge the reality of chi until he sees it with his experience. He doesn't know what to make of it. Just like many other things. To timestamp us now, last night for me, I did a class on another section from our book here from Rabbi Chaim Vital on the topic of concealment and shedim, the jinn, those four-dimensional beings who exist in those higher dimensions of which we're now describing, and how they interact with us. And I went into a long teaching there about that type of relationship. And it's important for us to understand, because we have interactions with these four-dimensional beings who pop into our three-dimensional reality as they do in accordance to the laws of their own reality. And we don't understand it. Modern science is starting to pick up on this, however atheistic or rationalist they want to be. So, what are we talking about? Rabbi Eliezer again asks the question, from where does land come from? And he states, Mesheleg shetachat kiseh hakavod, from the snow that comes from beneath the divine throne. Lakach v'zarakan alamayim, it was taken and thrown upon the waters, v'nakfu v'naaseh afar haaretz, and it froze and therefore became the dust of the land. And he quotes again the verse from Job here. Now, Rabbi Chaim states like this: Hakavana, the intent of what does this all mean? Sod Abba, lekach sheleg metachat kiseh hakavod, that Abba, the Sefer Hokhma, the intuitive faculty, takes and quotes snow from under the divine throne, which is Binah, which is the throne to Abba. And it says that this is the process, intuition into irrational, and from here comes forth form. Aretz, land, snow. And he states how the language of the text in Job specifically is in the present and not past tense. It doesn't say that this happened then, but is happening intentionally now, to show us that this is an ongoing process. All right, that's Reb Chaim. Now, what are we talking about here? The process is, again, energetic, but I think it's a lot more than that. You see, okay, intuition, that fluid essence of things, need to take on a concrete, rigid form, which is intellect, so as to crystallize it. But once you have a crystallized, rigid form, you create the blueprints. You know something? You still need a little bit of flexibility and fluidity to go with it, because any rigid plan, well, necessarily does need to be followed. Still, you have to have a little flexibility as you experience the reality of the moment. So, the original form is called ice, all right, or snow, if you will, because it's a rigid construct. Look, water is fluid. Ice or snow is solid, but it's the same thing. And I do believe I understand my physics correctly. It's all about the vibrational movement at the molecular level of the individual particles. The slower they go, the more crystallized they become. The faster they go, the more loose they become, the more fluid they are. They can turn from the solid state to the liquid state, eventually to the gaseous state, to the plasmic state. So it's all about movement, fluidity, or that hesed aspect. Fine. That is how we can understand this text. Again, going back and understanding that the sephirotic element, which is that higher energetic energy, for lack of a better word, I don't even know the right word, it materializes in our material world, first, foremost, Yuli, the prima matter, the chi, the orgon, the prana, the kundalini, and that gives rise to the four elements, fire, air, water, earth, referred to here as the tohu, the bohu, the rephis, and the tit. Again, the nothing, the tohu, that's like the original energy. The bohu goes into it to create the form. And then the original form is muck and mire, which eventually gives rise to actual mud, which you can then take and form into bricks and build your building. What the heck does that have to do with a garden? Because the ground, the floor, is alive. Like Reb Chaim says, this process is ongoing. It is the pulse of the universe. So that's why we do not look at this physical world of matter as being bad, evil, like a dead stone. On the contrary, it's a living garden. Everything in this physical world is supposed to be good. It has its evil side, but we use it for good. Fire. I can burn down things, or I can use it to heat up things nicely. Same thing with everything. Give every example. Now, save the best for last as always. What is this teaching of the land coming out of the snow? We just gave you a Kabbalah understanding of it from an energy point of view. I think you got the picture. All right? Life force energy. Everything here is good, raising things up to good. You got it. But is that really what the original teachings were? The throne of glory, again, just for a side note here, thrones where you sit down, that's a reference to the Binah, the mind realm, which takes the intuitive and it has to go down, and if it catches it or it sits on it, those are all the symbolisms there. But there's more. What exactly is this ancient teaching getting into? See, when you get into the book of Job, you get into some of the most ancient teachings in the Semitic culture. Now, something about the book of Job you should know. I personally, when I've studied the book of Job and studied for I don't know how many decades now, it's a problematic story. All of a sudden you got this great, righteous, and holy guy, and he's minding his own business, and the sons of God come together in like a crap game. They say, hey, I bet you I can topple this guy. No, you can't. Yes, you can. No, you can't. Yes, you can. Okay, let's try. And all of a sudden they kill his kids, they take away his finances, and do all this stuff. And you go, wait a second, how is this right or justice? Is this the way the, in quote, God works? Like the gods of mythology? That's kind of disgusting. I wouldn't want to worship a god who I'm no more than just a pawn in his chess game or a bet in his poker game. I mean, what kind of nonsense is that? Our sages understood that the book of Job is actually an old Semitic novel. It's a story. There was no historical Job. To try to say he lived here and he was it doesn't matter. That's why those details of the story are not there. The story is written to teach us profound lessons from the ancient Semitic culture. And one of those things that come out of the book of Job, like in many others, these ancient legends, we know about the Leviathan, the Behemoth. Now, the Leviathan, if you study about the Leviathan, go look up in Job, right? It's like a real description of a Godzilla. The book of Job clearly speaks about dragons. It speaks about the phoenix bird. Yes, it does. Go look this stuff up. All right, ancient teachings and understandings. One of these about this land coming out of the snow, think about it. Our present civilization is not the first on this earth. There was human life on this earth hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of years before ours. Our Torah traditions know this. It's called the pre-Adamic civilizations. And prior to that, there was the great reptilian race, the Tili, who became the Seraphim. We talk about that in all our other classes. But we also know from history that there was a great ice age. I'm not going to get into the details of what happened and how we shifted from the what's called the Shemitah or Epoch from Hesed to the Gevurah, where we are right now. But that necessitated the old ice age. And as the ice melted over many centuries, the land became clear. In the ancient mind, all they saw was ice. And as the ice disappeared, it became land. Is that what they saw? Is the echo of that ancient memory what is reflected here in the book of Job? I wonder. Remember, when you come to study certain books of the Bible, certain books were written as history, certain books are clearly poetry, other books have their own agendas. But when you look at a book like Job, you gotta get beyond thinking that this is some kind of history lesson. There are deep levels of hidden secrets in here, which then take on a life of their own and brought even here to the pages of our Sefer Yetzirah. This is how we know that the concept of what we call snow. Reb Chaim gives us a beautiful Kabbalistic understanding. But the ancients had a different understanding. They understood it in a much more natural way. And that's why the ancients never looked at this physical world of ours in any negative way like the later Greeks or Persians did in their philosophies. And those philosophies still infect, that's a right word, infect our religions to this day, where we have this dichotomy between spiritual and the physical. Bad. We believe in unity. That's the secret of our text here. And as we proceed in further lessons, we'll again reinforce all of this. But I've ran out of time. Check out our stuff online, see what we have to offer you. Ariel Bar Tzadok here, KosherTorah School, KosherTorah.com. I'll see you all in our next class. Shalom.